Let's talk a little bit about the potential of really growing your revenue in your practice when adding threads into your service lineup. What does that look like?
Well, the ROI on threads is much greater than your toxin ROIs. Actually, it's probably greater than any of your other services.
Hi there, my name is Katlin Cauffman, owner and founder of Diamond Accelerator, and I'm here with Giovanna McCarthy, owner and founder of PDO Max. Hi, Giovanna.
Hey, Katlin, how are you?
Good, thank you. I am so excited that we are going to be talking all things threads today. I have so many clients that ask me questions about threads and that are starting to get into it or consider getting into it. And so I'm just so excited for you to share everything that you know, or the beginning of what you know about threads. So tell us a little bit about you and your company.
So we've been around as a medical device company since 2014. We started working on getting our FDA clearance at that time. We received our clearance in 2018. Our threads are FDA cleared in cannula, as they should be if you are using threads in cannula. And really the rest is history. Threads are just huge. They've been huge in Asia and Europe for upwards of 20 years, and they are definitely becoming very popular here in the United States.
Let's start from the very beginning. So if you're in the aesthetic industry and you live under a rock and you haven't heard about threads, what exactly are threads?
So threads are exactly that. They are a suture material that is either molded or cut to really reapproximate the tissue, which means to move the tissue. It really reapproximates the tissue in the lifted position so that with using BOTOX and filler, it creates a new aesthetic procedure.
Yes. Okay. And who would be an ideal candidate as a patient to receive threads?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about PDO threads. They are really great for any age group. Obviously, patient selection is very important, but there is a place for threads in all age groups, whether it's to help tighten, thicken that skin or lift it in a way, to reposition it back to where it was. Obviously, if they are way too far gone, we tell them, we're very honest if they need plastic surgery. But there's really been a pushback on surgery. People really don't want to go under the knife. So this is a nice, non-invasive, it's definitely a procedure. You definitely want to go to somebody who understands threads because there are many nuances to using the product. So you want to go to somebody who does a lot of them, well-trained. So when nothing is a major issue, it's a lot of hand-holding. And if you are a provider that's going to offer threads, you need to know that. I highly suggest any provider that's going to offer it, get it done themselves so they know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. So you can manage expectations and what to expect with immediately following and then the months to come, right? Absolutely. What are some of the
it's totally about,
what's that?
It is totally about balancing those expectations and making sure you're aware of what threads can and can't do.
Yeah. What are some of the other injectables that you like to combine the thread treatment with?
All types of filler, all types of toxins. We definitely like to reapproximate that tissue in the lifted position before using filler, so that it just gives a much more natural appearance and actually makes the filler look that much better. I absolutely love the smooth threads with hyperdiluted radius, smooth threads in the dermis, hyperdiluted radius in the subderm. Wonderful results with that. Obviously, same thing, you want your toxins involved. You want to I really highly suggest people get their toxin 2 weeks before they get their lift and their filler. You can absolutely do filler and threads on the same day.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, in my mind, I'm hearing when you were saying, add the lifts, neurotoxins, filler. I mean, you're talking about ending up with a really high ticket comprehensive treatment plan. Let's talk a little bit about the potential of really growing your revenue in your practice when adding threads into your service lineup. What does that look like?
Well, the ROI on threads is much greater than your toxin ROIs. Actually, it's probably greater than any of your other services, because when I created the company, I've been in the industry over 30 years and seen what the industry has grown to be. And the reality, it seems that the medical device companies are the ones making the money versus the practitioner who's actually doing the service. So I really highly encourage medical providers to charge for the service, not the product. So their ROI can be anywhere from 300 to 600 to 800%, depending on the part of the country they're in, their expertise, their ability to get the results. There is a definite learning curve with threads. It's not something you can just pick up and do. You need to immerse yourself in a full day training. We find that the people who do that are the most successful ones. If you go to just a training where you're only working on one person, it really limits your skill level. It's something, we really promote is the training. If you become and understand what to do with threads, you will be very successful with them, and the ROI is there. As I said earlier, I really felt the need to price this in a way that the providers are not really selling a thread, they are selling their service.
Yeah, because there really is an art, and you really have to be skilled to achieve the desired look and result that the patient is looking for with the thread, right? It's not, I remember you sharing with me, it's not as simple as injecting BOTOX. There's a real art to it. So I want to take it back a little bit further. And if someone is considering getting, trained or adding this service into their practice, who is really an ideal candidate to add threads to their business?
Anybody who's doing BOTOX and fillers. Literally, it has become the trilogy of those two services. The three together really give phenomenal results, especially to the client who is not ready for a facelift and is just looking to take a few years to get their facelift. I can tell you that most people who obviously do botulin, a filler, and a thread, sooner or later will become a plastic surgery candidate. Obviously, they're the type of people that care about how they look. So it's really important for even plastic surgeons to embrace the idea, as it brings people into their practice who sooner or later will want a facelift. So I know, I try to run my company as ethically as possible. Never will you hear out of my mouth the words, it takes the place of a facelift. It doesn't. It takes the place of something that we didn't have before. It gives us another tool in the toolbox to give people that time they need to decide whether they want a facelift or not. And even maybe if they like the results, be like, okay, I want this permanent. So then they'll move into a surgical procedure. It's a way to enhance a surgical procedure. Somebody who had a facelift, they're 3 years out. Now they just want to feel tight again. That's where they come into play again. So it gives a nice wait time in between surgical procedures.
Yeah. Definitely buying you some time there. Another thing that I like about Threads is it doesn't take, a huge investment like buying $100,000 plus device to add an amazing treatment to your mix of services. Because oftentimes you're paying a lease, for years before you're ever really making money off of that device. So talk a little bit about, the entry point of being able to add Threads to your business, and how quickly a lot of businesses are making that money back and then actually starting to make money instead of just paying that lease payment every single month, like with devices.
It's basically immediate. Your investment for the training is really the only time where you're not making the money right away. We are lovers of small practices as well as large practices, so we don't even have a minimum buy-in with our company, for the reason being that I want to be able to support the clinic that only does a few clients a week versus a clinic that does hundreds of clients a week. I see that a lot in the industry where they're almost boxed out if they're not willing to make a huge investment. We want to be the company that helps them make the money to pay for everything else they're doing.
I love that. You have sole proprietors. And the
coming from the beauty industry for 30 years before medical aesthetics were medical aesthetics. I'm not, like I said, I've seen the industry grow. I've seen the industry become something that sometimes blows my mind. And it is my goal to help the small providers as well as the large providers not only use our product, but help them grow their business. And it needs to be that is why I help them price these services as a service, as not a product. It's interesting how it's evolved. It's almost like the providers are there to feed the monster and not the other way around. We should be helping the providers grow.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you do to help the people that you train? How do you feel like your company, compared to others, helps set them up for success so they really can hit the ground running and start offering these services?
Like I said, our training is a no-joke training. I think you were at one of my trainings and you got to see, I don't go in to play. We go in to make sure people understand the nuances. We teach the worst case scenario to the best case scenario, and we handhold. Just like they handhold their clients, we handhold them while I'd say their first 5 to 10 patients where they're really nervous. The patients call with questions. We help them answer those questions. We help them through the initial phase of it. Because it's interesting, because obviously I give my cell phone number to everybody we train, and people are like, geez, so aren't you afraid of all the phone calls you get? No, not really, because we only get those phone calls or texts, honestly, for the first 5 to 10 patients. After that, they feel good, they're comfortable, they become successful at it. I find that that's what's really grown our company and has really differentiated us. We hear it all the time, you're so easily accessible. I check my texts in between patients at all my trainings to make sure somebody I didn't teach a week ago doesn't need help. We're just very there for them. And I think it really comes from, again, 30 years of being in the business, understanding that I want people who are using my product to be able to sleep at night and not be nervous or afraid. The beautiful thing about Threads is there's really, if people are taught well, there is nothing that's a true adverse event, unlike a filler occlusion. There might be some nuances if you were too superficial with the thread might show, yada, yada, but nothing that can't be fixed with you can remove the thread and you fixed your problem. The only issue, is people need to know their anatomy. As long as they know their anatomy and as long as they know where the tip of their cannula is at all times, it's a very safe procedure. So it's important for me to know that the person using the product isn't losing sleep over the procedure they did.
Yeah. And I know that when the training that I attended that you did here, when I followed up with her at the beginning of this year, close to a year later, and she shared with me her financial growth, like even during COVID and whatnot. I was like, wow, what do you attest that to? That's amazing. And she really believed that it was adding threads to her business, a high ticket for her. That was a high ticket service because she does a lot of injectables, and fillers was a real game changer in her business without having a giant lease payment on some device.
100%. It's funny you say that. I've had a few people that we service say the same thing, that the threads really got them through COVID, because it's not heavy investment. They buy what they need when they need it. We don't oversell. We don't overstock people. I prefer not to because, there is an expiration date on the product. Granted, it's a 2-year expiration, but I still like to know that the product is fresh and as strong as it can be. So there's no doubt that threads are becoming something to make practices money to help them survive this whole nightmare of a year we've had. When you're hearing what their laser payments are, and it's been an interesting year because I'm sure you've heard it. It's the things that are growing are toxins, fillers, and threads. Everything else is almost taken a back seat. Not that it won't come back. I'm going to say that lasers are probably one of my favorite things, ablative lasers. I remember 20 years ago, again, I've been in the industry before metastatics was metastatics. And I used to remember saying, how come plastic surgeons don't do laser before they do facelifts? Because you need that palette. There are each modality handles a certain thing. And I think threads have rounded the whole industry out. So there's a place in threads in any practice that does aesthetics.
Yeah, in fact, when I sometimes will work with sole proprietors. They're a one-woman show, right? They're answering their own phone, they're ordering their own inventory, they're welcoming their patients, they're servicing their patients, and they're like, oh, what device should I get or get next? And I always tell them, like, your main service, if it's injectables and fillers, before you go to a device, look at threads. This is going to be your
100%.
Way to add revenue without having that lease payment. And it's such a great complement to your injectables. It's just amazing.
Yes. And I think you're right. I think that if they're doing BOTOX and fillers, they need to bring threads in so they can pay for their laser device when they're not firing that laser device. I mean, the pricing of how threads was done was by our company, and I'm glad other thread companies have followed suit and are charging by the area, by the service. Not when I hear people are charging by the thread, I want to be like, why? To me, that's the worst thing you can do, because now you've put the power of your service into the client's hands. And now if you can't use the amount of product you need to get the results you want, it looks bad on you. So we priced it in a way that's pretty fair. So whether it's you need 2 threads or 4 threads to do an area, the profit margin is there. You use what you need to get the results. So that needs to be understood, that, pricing it needs to be, again, about your service and about your outcome, not about the product.
Mm-hmm. And that's all in how you position it, not only in your marketing, but in your consultation. Talk about how you can help your patients get over the scary needle look of the treatment, right? So that a lot of people will post their videos or pictures online and it freaks people out and deters them. But I love that people are still, you know, asking questions and getting that consultation. How would you walk a patient through that to make them feel better?
I definitely remind the provider to remind the patient it's a procedure. It's a little different than Botox and fillers, but we do numb them for the procedure. They're comfortable. I can tell you, and I would tell the providers, it has to be a very honest discussion. There is pain. There's pain for, you know, up to 2 weeks. Discomfort, not pain. Let's call it spicy. One of my clients used that word and it's now become my favorite word. It's spicy. You know, the worst part of the procedure is the numbing. Once we get them nice and numb, they're comfortable. And the results, if somebody is trained, the results speak for themselves. The people we train get great results. And I have practices now doing a ton of threads, you know, and it's like filler. They still need it every year or 2 years. So it's a consumable, you know, it's building that reputation, building that trust. And it's, I'm going to say it, it's like an annuity for your business. You know, you're going to make money by doing these procedures, and the return on investment is big enough to help you pay for the other bills in your practice, help you buy more filler, more Botox, a laser. There's no, I don't think there's any other medical device on the market right now that gives as good of an ROI.
Okay, so when you say, let's just break that down a bit. Like, let's say I bought $10,000 worth of threads from you, and then I'm gonna go and use those with my clients. What am I gonna get in return for my $10,000 worth of threads that I bought from you?
Depending on your target market and your socioeconomic area, you're gonna bring in anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 with that product.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 to 6.
3 to 6 times is where I tell people to price it. There are people out there getting more than that. Again, you know, it's based on the service, but yet easily 300 to 600%.
And that's not even including when you combine the other modality, like, you know, Botox.
Exactly.
And whatnot.
Yep, or your hyperdiluted radius or whatever. Absolutely. You know, it becomes a treatment plan, not just Botox. Now you're really giving them the ability to turn back the clock 10 years at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
who doesn't want?
Right. If you stand in the mirror and you go like this, you are a candidate for threads.
That's who's a candidate. Anybody who can do this and not have 2 inches of skin on the side, they're a candidate.
Yes, well, in fact, Giovanna, do you remember this? Because I was at one of your trainings. I was there to take some video from for one of my clients, and I was like, I want to be a model. I want to do it. And you're like, oh, and you know, like, we can't probably lift you too much. And I was like, oh no, I think we can. And you're like, oh, okay, I think we can too. And we did a before and after. In fact, I'm going to share this towards the end of the video. And we lifted one of my sides, and then we took a picture before we lifted the other side, and it was like so beautiful. It was like it gave me so much lift. It looked like I had like voluma in my cheeks on one side because the lift was so good, and I had no filler. But the lift just gave me so much volume and just smoothness and tightness in my skin. It was truly amazing treatment.
You are 100% correct. Done correctly, it recontours the face. And that's why I'm a fan of lifting first and injecting fillers second, because I want to reposition the tissue as well as I can, and then finish off with the rest of my contour. Because, you know, if you've lost weight as you've aged or whatever, you've lost that fat pad. So we need to the injector needs to recontour contour that. But you can get so much contouring with threads done correctly. And my new patent that we're bringing to market, and hopefully our new products will be out first quarter, it's really all about that. There's going to be a special bend to the cannulas, which are going to recontour the areas with less product. So it's the thread game is evolving. It's gotten better from when it started in 2014. It's going to keep getting better. We work with our R&D team pretty close. I actually manufacture our product. I'm not a repackager or relabeler. So we do make changes as we've seen things not work or really work. I've tweaked the product that you wouldn't know it. My provider may not know it, but I will make changes. As I see things are, there'll be bumps left behind because the thread was a little too long on the end. We've made that shorter. We've changed and tweaked it, and that's why the thread procedures are going to keep getting better and better. It's like everything else. The more you use it, the more you see what's going on in the industry. I go back to my R&D team and like, can we do this? Can I change this? And they're so awesome. They're constantly working with me. And like I said, I have the patent coming out. I've actually had the idea and the things in place for 4 years, but I had been spending all my money with the FDA that I couldn't spend the money getting my patent. We submitted the patent in December, and now I'm building the machine to bend the cannulas, yada, yada. And hopefully by Q2, I'm hoping, if not by June for sure, we will be introducing the new cannulas, and it's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, that is really, really exciting. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how you could use threads with all ages. So what a 20 to 30-year-old, how you would use threads with her compared to, 40, 50, 60-year-olds. So people really understand how there's so many different ways you can use threads in your business based on, who you're working with. Because we have some clients that, focus more on millennials and lips, and then we have an acne, right? And then we have other clients that are like, I'm working with more of a 40, 50, and 60-year-old woman. So talk about how you could use threads with those different types of patients.
So your millennials, as I'm sure you've seen, they're doing a lot of eyebrows, a lot of the fox eye, a lot of, so it's interesting how aesthetics fads are so quick to happen nowadays. I mean, fox eye came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden we had to start teaching fox eye. Millennials, lip lining, great for that. The smooth threads, great for collagen induction. Even at 30, people are starting to get a little bit of nasolabial folds. So the difference is, the younger you are, the less product you're going to use. Yeah. The older you are, the more product you're going to use. And that's really where it comes down to. And when we have, because you might have a 50 or 60-year-old who has a really nice, thick dermal layer. So they're a great candidate right off the bat. You have a 50, 60-year-old whose skin sun damage, skin laxity. Those are the ones, like I said, smooth threads with maybe hyperdiluted radius first, and then maybe lifting threads. So it really is during the consult, but all those age groups have the ability to use threads on. Lip lining is huge for the younger girls that already have full lips and just want to start maintaining it. Smooth threads are great for that. The cyclone threads are great for that. We now have multi-threads, which work really great in nasolabial folds. Plumps them without making them look puffy.
Yeah.
So there's a place and a time for everybody using threads. That's what's great about them. If you can use BOTOX and filler on them, you can use threads.
All right. So to kind of wrap things up here, before you go out and buy your next laser device, I want you guys to look in and explore adding threads to your business. Giovanna, how can they find you if they want more information about PDO Max?
They can go to pdomax.com and register, and the minute they put their license information in, we will let them into the website, because it is a medical provider website. They can contact me through Instagram, Giovanna McCarthy. I think right now it's Gio Beauty Authority, something like that. I change it up every once in a while. We're on Facebook. PDO Max is on Facebook. PDO Max is on Instagram. So they can find us everywhere and anywhere.
Awesome. And again, what I love about you is you, founder, creator, owner, you're also a trainer, and you also do them on clients yourself. So you are in the trenches, and that's really how you've been able to evolve and grow in the game so quickly, because you are moving fast and furious, making updates and optimizing as you see them come, as you're dealing with all these patients and providers and educating them. So I think that you're
100%
best in the game.
Well, and it's really what I love is, I get to talk to the providers. I get to hear what they don't like, what they do like. And we take those, we have to take them seriously because we are an FDA cleared product, but we also take them seriously because, to me, the end user is not my provider, it is the client. And I've been in the industry 30 years. If the client's not happy, the provider's not going to be happy. So it's very important. And I think it's something as a society, as medical device companies sometimes have lost sight of the fact that that's really what's important. It's the end game. It's the end person who got my product in their face. They need to be happy. And we have built the company on those ethics and morals. And I love knowing that people are getting a great treatment. So the training has been the forefront, because we know that without that good training, no one's going to be happy. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are just out to make fast buck. That was never my intent. I saw a product when I went to Europe, and my Italian plastic surgery friends who came here to the US and trained people on them. I saw the potential, but I also saw the potential that if it wasn't rolled out correctly, it was never going to fly here. And in the United States, we are so much more open to litigation that people need to be trained well and need to know truly what they need to look for so that the client is happy. And I think we're doing a great job of it. It's important to me that the provider's comfortable with the product and that the patient's happy with the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I know that you are extremely busy between your own business and traveling with training. So it was great that you take this time out. And if you have any questions, make sure that you include them in the comment section below. And I know that Giovanna will be glad to answer those in the thread, or you can DM her privately as well if you're interested in learning more about how you can add, really 6 figures to your business in the first year. Would you say that's completely realistic, whether you're a solopreneur or a large practice? Completely realistic.
Oh God, yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
Most of our accounts are ordering to make at least that, if not more.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you get back to it. But make sure you guys to reach out to Giovanna if you have any questions about PDO Max.
Thank you, Katlin. Bye-bye.